yeah.
Not sure what quality it was like. I was recording.
I'm gonna have to do some work on it because it's the background is really loud. But
Yeah,
I thought if I put it at the end of the show, that it won't be too bad.
Yeah, it's back in it. It was recorded in the top floor of a restaurant. It wasn't the best environment to record it on. But I thought it was just follow up from that previous one.
Yeah,
it's actually they're actually it's under embargo until tomorrow, effectively. So if it goes out Thursday, it'll be fun.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'll probably be able to just run a bit of background noise cancellation on it.
Yeah, I think you think it. I did give it a go, and it did come out a bit better. But my background noise is a little bit aggressive in terms of it's the stuff you don't want.
Hello.
Oh,
hello. Excellent.
Hi. The Flash is on Tuesdays now.
Oh yeah, but we're still on series 2.
Oh, we binge watched series 2 over the weekend.
Well, that's what my son wants to do, but I won't do it.
So I'll have to check how long they stay on catch up because I'll need to do some catching up.
Yeah, you've got to be careful with that.
Yeah,
because what happens is
there for another 10 days, I think it is.
Yeah, I've seen season 2. Just how long season 3 stays on.
It is 10 days.
I don't know about the current series. It's not long. I think. Just trying to think. There's definitely the first 2. So tonight was the second episode of series 3, which Now TV you can watch some Sky channels live. So you're able to tune in and watch it. Because my son wanted to watch it before he goes to school tomorrow, because everyone else would have watched it.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna I'll have to download them all. I don't know if you downloaded them, how long you've got before you watch them.
I think it's the same. I think you've got a full Sky subscription, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yours will be different, I think.
Yeah, I can never work it out because I think what usually happens. I've mentioned this before. You think you find a show that's on, say, series 3, and you think, oh, this is, and you start watching series 1 on catch up on box set, and you think, oh, this is quite good. So you watch season 1, and then you're halfway through 2, and they take it off. Or you finish 2 and you caught up, but then they're halfway through 3 and they've only got like 2 weeks worth of the current series. So you have to then wait till series 4 comes out to get to series 3 episode 1 because of the way that they do the catch up and the box set's different.
Yeah, because we were watching still season 1 of The Flash, and so by the time we'd finished that, they'd already removed season 2 or the first few episodes of season 2. So fortunately they put season 2 available just before season 3 started. So I'm just currently looking at Now TV. So season 1's got 13 days left for all the episodes, I think. Yeah,
I think
season 2 has got 13 days left.
I think it is different
for all the episodes. And then season 3, so episode 1 of season 3 has got 22 days left, and episode 2 has got 29 days left. And then I guess later on this evening, episode 3 will appear.
Yeah.
But I know Now TV has different restrictions to a full Sky subscription.
Yeah. Well, I should say good evening as well.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, well, we started talking about Sky and the Flash, but that's a good point, though, isn't it? That I would say about catch up there. These catch up windows that they've got for regions and things like that, they do make it quite difficult, and it does end up quite frustrating sometimes when you're into a show and then the difference between the catch up and the box sets is mean that you can't catch up. It's annoying then.
Yes, it certainly is. I think what they tend to do is they tend to disappear. A season tends to disappear so that they then can sell the box set.
Yeah.
So then there's like a period where it's not available, so that they try and make money on box sets, and then as the next season approaches, they kind of come back. As I mentioned before, it's you get this weird thing where you get kind of like I can watch a couple of seasons of The Americans on Amazon TV, but the 4th season's still not on there, or you get season 1 over here and season 2 over there, and it's still no great way of just having. I just want to watch this, and it automatically selects the service that you can watch it on.
Actually, I took your advice. You mentioned The Americans quite a few times. I watched the first few episodes, and it was on Amazon. And actually, I really like it. So, another thing to try and catch up on.
Yes, it's really good. And I think there's an episode where they mentioned that they've taken down a black market video ring, and it's like all these on these shelves, they've just got piles and piles of VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite interesting because it's set in the 80s, so it's quite interesting
Yeah.
around the kind of Cold War time.
Yeah, I like anything set like that. That's like Halt and Catch Fire and things. Right, well, we better get on with some news. So we do have
Have we
quite
got
a few
news?
things to talk about this week. We did get a new build, which we talked about last week, wasn't it? Just as it arrived. There was an event last week, which lots of really nice gear showed off that Jason's queuing up for, which is the new MacBook.
Yes.
Yeah. Now he's a fanboy. No, of course there was the Microsoft event last week and Apple's event, and certainly things have changed. And times have changed how we've seen Apple and Microsoft events over the years. So we'll talk about that and some of the things that Microsoft showed off there, and some of the things they didn't show off but got a fleeting glimpse. And well, we've got a few reviews and things we can talk about as well. So let's start off with the build just to finish it off. So I did post my hands-on videos. Those builds came a bit easier as well. 14955. Anybody tried them?
Only within a VM, but I haven't spent very long on it.
Now I've got to say, I have criticised some of the phone builds recently as being a bit of a battery drain. But they've done something with this build, and the battery performance is amazing. This is currently showing, I can show it on there. It's running at 92%, remaining time 1 day, 23 hours.
What?
and I've done nothing with it. It's got a SIM in it. It's got the data SIM in there. I've been using it. It's something's changed on this build. The reason why I noticed is because I forgot to put it on charge, and you can see the battery drain if I show it on the video there. That's over 24 hours, and it's dropped about 20% in 24 hours. So the reason, I normally plug this in every day, and I forgot to plug it in, and I picked it up thinking, oh, it'll be dead now, I better put it on charge. And I picked it up and it had like 80% charge on it and still going. So there is definitely some change in optimization going on with that. No new features, but battery life has definitely improved. Previous build, it ran very warm. This, it runs cold, so that's a good sign, really.
That sounds really good, actually. I must try that.
Maybe the previous version was misreporting the battery life, and
yeah,
they did a firmware fix.
Yeah. So this is estimated charging rate 1 day, 22 hours. So that is impressive. So I think if I started to use it a bit more, perhaps I was using it all the time instead of the Nexus, then I'd see more drain on it. But having on the previous build, where my low capacity charger wouldn't even charge it would drain, then there's definitely some optimization going. So I guess it's just how these things go in that they cover. You have one build has a drain, one build doesn't. So
yeah.
So that was it on the phone side. I think on the PC side there was only a couple of changes. With the Mail app, got a nice little update where you can open a new window and you can do an app thing to bring up the list, the at sign when you brings up the email list, your contact list. So yeah, not a huge amount of changes with this build, but at least I had less issues getting the build installed than I did last time.
Yeah, there's certainly been the last few builds have been quite a few hiccups, particularly on mobile. Like you said, it's there's been quite a few hoops. I think you were talking about last week about setting the clock forward and
this time it's got a bit easier. So hands-on videos are available on the site. Now let's talk about the Microsoft event. So first of all, did you see it?
I didn't see the event, no, but I've read as much as I can.
Yeah, the same for me. I didn't unfortunately get the chance to see it.
I was lucky because I was in the office, so I did get to see it, and I've got to say it was a good presentation. Really, I think Microsoft did quite a good job showing off the anniversary of the next version of Windows, which we'll talk about shortly, and the next name of Windows 10. And the hardware, and Panos Panay did his usual pumped presentation, and they spent a long while on the hardware and things. But I thought overall the general feel of it was good, the flow of it was good. It wasn't very stilted or anything like that. Quite a long way from a few years ago where we saw Microsoft events being sometimes can be a little bit dull. and a real contrast to the Apple event, which was the day later, which we can talk about the products later. But the Apple event felt quite forced to me. I don't know. I presume, although I guess you've seen that now, Jason. Yeah, you're a fanboy.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched that.
Yeah, that felt quite forced to me and quite. I only saw parts of it, so to be fair, I'll give it fair. It might have been better in other parts, but what I did see, it felt like your typical Apple event, but like it was. So it was. I don't know, like someone putting on what they thought an Apple event would be like almost. Just didn't have that fluidity and spark that some of the Apple events used to have, which to be fair is probably they've not had since Steve Jobs stopped doing them. So, but anyway, Microsoft's event, very good, very felt quite good. But first thing they announced was the next version of Windows 10 due spring 2017. We know it as Redstone 2, but now we're going to be calling it what?
Creators Update.
Yes. What did I say last week? We're going to see lots of things with designers.
You did.
I didn't have any inside information, but it just felt that way. It felt a lot of things I've been hearing about. It just felt that way. So yeah. I'm not sure about that as a name. I don't know, the Creators Update.
No, it seems very odd.
Nobody else is going to download it, are they? I'm not a creator. I don't want it.
Yeah, well, there's not going to be any choice. You're going to have to download it, or even if you delay that, you'll have to download it to get the next big update. But this name aside, really, it doesn't really matter what they call it, does it? It's still really just the next version of Windows, and it will have, I'm sure for most of us, at least one feature, which I think is safe to say for me. I think every major release of Windows 10's had something in it that's kind of piqued my interest. I just wonder whether or not they are trying to. While they denied it, Terry Meyerson's interview with Mary Jo Foley, he particularly denied it, but I do wonder whether or not they are trying to attract that iMac kind of MacBook type person, because traditionally one thing people have always preferred, my brother-in-law is an artist, and he always preferred a Mac and doing drawing. And
I think that's actually really where I was coming from last week, because it was a hole in the market for them. There was a lot of certainly CAD professionals, design professionals, graphic 3D artists. We'll come on to 3D in a minute. But all those people have usually gone for the Mac desktops. And that's been the market for the Mac desktop. And I've spoken to an awful lot of creatives today, because I've been at Future Decoded today, the big event in Microsoft holds in London, and loads of creators have been coming up and saying, "Have you got one of these service things here I can look at?" Obviously, we didn't, but there's definitely a lot of interest out there.
Yeah, and I think the name it doesn't really roll off the tongue that well to me, but I think the point is they're trying to make is that you can. This is a creative environment. It's not just doesn't just mean that if you're a 3D artist or a graphic designer. And I think we all create things, whether it's Excel documents or VMs or development projects or whatever. We all create things and create blog posts and whatever, and that's what this update is designed at. It's just a name, I think, essentially, isn't it? But interesting to note, though, the one negative thing is that we did hear a lot of rumors that Redstone 2 would be focused on mobile, and that definitely isn't the case. The mobile is definitely, or certainly what they've talked about so far, is taking a back seat once again.
Yes, I know there's some talk about Continuum being enhanced, which they've mentioned, but yeah, there was certainly nothing that I've seen from this event. But I just wonder why they know to come up with these names. I'm sure it's a marketing name, but other than the 3D aspect, I'm not really sure there's anything in it that kind of signifies that it's a specific update that adds, unmissable features for creators. And I think just call it the spring update and the autumn update or the fall update, and just they don't need to give it these names. And it does, kind of wrongly or rightly, it does generate a divide. People are saying, well, I'm not going to install that if it's for creators because I'm not a creator. But at the end of the day, there will also be important advances. I think let's talk about the Edge browser being more sandboxed. So there's going to be things in it that is going to make it an important release. So stop trying to pigeonhole it and just have it as the next version of Windows.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but how many people know, apart from us, that the November or the previous update, the anniversary update was called anniversary update? Most people didn't really know, did they? It just sat there and did the big update, and they carried on working.
Yeah, I guess. Although I think, I mean, it does mention it. I think in Windows Update, it called it Anniversary Update, and I also thought that when you look at the update history, does it not say? Just trying to have a quick look.
I think even it just says feature update in when you do Windows Update.
Got you. Yes. Yeah, you might be right actually.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to look, because I mean, again, if it doesn't actually refer to that as a name, it makes it even more ridiculous to kind of call it out. So yeah, so on the update page, they just call it updates for Windows 10 version 1607.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, so why give it a name? And I'm not quite sure who the I get what you're saying about people might create a calendar out of personal photos, or a wedding invitation or something. I kind of get that, but I also don't think there's people that, the creators update, I can't wait for that to come, because I'm that's exactly what I was waiting for Windows 10 to have. Just it just seems very odd.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not overly fussed about the name of things. But
It's one thing Apple haven't really got at the moment. But yeah, it's yeah, I think it's a space that they need to be in, and even if I can't see the appeal of it.
Yeah, and I think I'll probably try out one of the headsets if they get some low cost ones, and just to have a play with it, because I think it sounds quite good. So that was the 3D. So that's the creators update. I think there's a lot more to come from that, and we'll see more stuff in it. But it's interesting to see what's coming in there. And like I said, there's going to be new features coming, but we do know that that's coming in the spring. So that'll be the next big update for Windows 10. Oh, there was one thing actually. So they didn't show everything. They didn't say everything that was actually shown. Did you see the video that a little promo video for the creators update, which had a lot of things in it they didn't talk about?
No, I hadn't seen that.
So one of the things that is in the video is Groove Music Maker. I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I did hear about this.
Yeah. So there was just a few screenshots during the video, which I did grab, and I did a blog post on them because I quite like the music stuff. And looking at it, it looks like it's fairly rich application. It's got a nice UI where it seems to have virtual instruments, audio recording as well, multi-track audio recording. So it might be great for doing demos or a bit of creativity on the go with virtual instruments, or even do podcasts and audio editing and things like that. So while they didn't mention it, it's their Groove Music Maker, so that's part of this creators update. So I think perhaps also that's what they're going to do. They're going to bundle some of these creator type apps. We might even see a return of Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Well, it would probably be called Microsoft Movies and TV Maker.
Creator.
Yeah. But I quite like. I mean, the iPads had GarageBand, and I think you can get it for the Mac as well, GarageBand, and there are some low cost music software available for Windows. But it would be nice if there's one in the store that was a UWP app as well that you could just get going with it straight away. So I think that would be something that get kids playing about with it. That might be good as well. So I guess that's all part of it. But there was also some other stuff that they showed, like they look like a new version of Windows Defender with a more modern UI. Maybe it's even UWP or something like that. But that style of UI.
Yeah.
So have a look at that. So the headsets as well. I've got a post on those, but they looks like they're coming from HP, Dell, Lenovo, and I think December we're going to find out more information about those.
Good. Well,
now go ahead.
I was going to say, so the I just gone blank on that. The other thing I saw on that demo was there was one other bit which sort of popped up on it's creative, and I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, I mean they showed obviously doing the work. They're updating Word and Excel and everything out there with better pen support and. Part of these updates as well.
Yeah, they got that. No, there's definitely something else. I can't remember now. You have to cut this bit out because I can't remember. I'll just leave it in. Sorry, how stupid I've been tonight.
What I'll do is I'll leave it in and I'll put an incredibly long pause.
Yeah, Gary being thick tonight. I've had to think too much today.
Yeah, you've done a lot of thinking today. So you're so of course, the big announcement was the Surface products. I mean, we should say as well, one of the rumors was they were going to show other OEMs devices, which they didn't show, apart from I think the HP Elite phone was the only thing that wasn't a Surface.
Yeah.
But they announced an update to the Surface Book, or a new SKU of the Surface Book.
Yeah.
This is a new what is it? A high-end version of the i7 version?
Yes, I think one of the main differences is increased video RAM, so that with the kind of Xbox Anywhere titles like Forza Horizon 3, the standard Surface Book doesn't have sufficient video RAM to play it properly. That's the one thing. It's great. I've got my Surface Pro 3 with a Core i7 with 8 gig of RAM in it, but even that's not recommended for playing that game. So I think that's what they're kind of aiming for. They're kind of making that premium device capable of that of a bit of gaming. I think maybe to make it a bit dual use.
And I think they extended the battery life as well.
Yes, yeah, I think there's more battery packed in there. Still the same processor, so they haven't updated to, is it Kaby Lake?
Yeah, they haven't, have they?
No, but also it would have been one thing I would have been interested in is if they'd actually expanded the maximum RAM up to 32 gig. That might have been that would be more appealing to me than extended battery life.
Yeah. Do you think who's going to be buying this? Because wouldn't it be better waiting for a Surface Book 2?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem an odd time to launch it. I mean, I do wonder whether or not the original, let's call it the original Surface Book, will kind of run out of stock.
Yeah,
so
I think that's what's going to happen.
But I mean, so let's say they're talking about a spring launch of the next Surface devices. So that's still 5 months away. And it is into that difficult time, isn't it? Because we always say, there's never a right time to buy a new laptop or tablet, because 6 months down the line there'll always be something new that's better. So I think, like I said, I think the stock of the original Surface Book will run down, and then people will just, you won't even realise that you're buying. Because I think at the end of the day, these are very, very premium devices. They're really aimed at your kind of MacBook type generation or business purchases. They're not really consumer devices.
No, definitely not. In fact, we can mourn the end of the consumer Surface devices now, can't we? Because the Surface 3 is out of stock everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think. I think it's a shame to see it go, but I think one thing the Surface brand has always represented is that kind of trying to challenge the OEMs, and I think from that bottom end of the market, I think the OEMs have responded. I think there's more than enough kind of Surface clones to fill that gap now. So there's not really a differentiator at all, which kind of makes it ironic given the other product that they launched, which we'll come on to soon. So I think there's plenty of products to now fill that market. It would still be interesting to see an ARM-based Surface 4, and whether or not that will happen, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll come back to talk about ARM. But what definitely isn't shipping with an ARM processor is the new Surface All-in-One, the Surface Studio.
No, definitely not.
Yes.
So
what is that?
So this is the all-in-one that was rumoured. Pretty accurate rumours, but perhaps the only thing it didn't really realise is the way that it folds flat, almost like a draftsman board.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, isn't it? It's the electronic draftsman's board.
Yeah. And again, super high-end pricing and spec. Although probably higher spec than is the price, higher price than there is spec really, but it is an all-in-one device. i7 processor, 2 terabytes storage, 28-inch display running at 4.5K. Pen and the Surface Dial, which we'll talk about in a sec. I noticed there was no Thunderbolt 3 port on it. It's just got USB 3 ports on it, which I thought was a bit of a shame, because I know a lot of these high-end video services and film movie editors, they like using Thunderbolt 3 for storage arrays, but that's not included. But a very nice device. Panos Panay was very proud of this device, as you saw in the, if you can see in the video. But it does look really nice, and I know what you think, Jason, already. Go on, what do you think of it?
What is the point of it? There were plenty.
You're not the target market, though. This is what I mean. This is if you look at where Apple's desktop sell. It's into design studios. It's into CAD studios, and those people spend top money to have the fastest, quickest design stuff. And it's a market Microsoft have never really touched.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that's the only category I can see it fitting into, is it's going straight after that kind of MacBook, iMac type.
Yes, it's basically I'm surprised Apple's share price didn't crash after this, to be honest.
Who's Apple's?
Apple's, yeah.
Yeah, I think
it is quite a large part of their revenue stream. It's about the only thing on the computer side which actually really makes money.
Yes, yeah, and that probably is the one thing that frames the creators update. I think that
Yeah.
tied in with the Surface Studio, that is the one element of the market I can see. But like I say, I just think it's such a small market. But I mean, they always deny that they're targeting Apple directly, but I mean, clearly that's the one place, because there are already very affordable all-in-ones that on the market.
There are, but I think the thing is that there's if you actually look what Microsoft goes for with most of its products, they actually tend to be nowadays higher margin ideas. So the exec boards with the Surface Book, that's people who have to have the best, and the design market is one of those areas where there is still margins to be made, and you can actually get reasonable markups on technology, which you can't do with most. I mean, laptops these days don't make much markup at all. And I think it's actually an area they couldn't, even with a reasonably small niche market. It's not actually that small, but it's a niche market. I agree, totally a niche market, but it's a niche market you can make a lot of money on.
And I think the other point of it, aside from there being no sort of device like this, the all-in-ones that are out on the market aren't like this either. But I think the other point of it really is, it's like with the car companies, when Mercedes enter Formula One and produce, and make their car, no one's going to buy that car, but it acts as a halo device, as a halo thing. You think, well, look at that technology, look at that. I really want that. I like that brand, and then you go and get the lower price. Now, I know you haven't got a lower price device, but that's when you can look at another OEMs.
Yeah, and I can certainly see buying something like that for homework, home sort of design stuff for certain people from another manufacturer.
Yeah, and I think what will happen now is that other OEMs will take that design and produce cheaper versions of it, because there isn't anything quite like that in the all-in-one idea. And I think having a Windows device that's got that attention to detail, and it brings up I think it makes the OEMs bring up the level quality of their devices. We've seen with the way the Surface is done.
Yeah.
You get some really nice Windows devices other than Surface now. But when the Surface first came out, perhaps the quality wasn't as good, and we've seen that gradually over time, with less need for the Surface. And I think that's probably why they've done this. But yeah, fitting in that very neat high-end niche, it's got a really high-end markup, so there's less risk involved, and I think it just serves as a flagship. And it's got people talking about Surface and Windows, and especially Mac users, when that even though they probably won't be buying one, it has got people talking about it.
Yeah, and also the promotional stuff. I mean, they started with the Surface Book promo originally with that original reveal, but the Surface Studio promo video is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's very good. And go ahead, Jace.
No, I was going to say yes. That was quite impressive.
So I think while none of us are going to get the device, and I even if I had the money, I wouldn't get one, because I have nowhere to put it, and I like small portable. So, but I do like it. It looks a nice device, and it would be a nice device to have in the store to show off the Windows, so the very best with the Windows experience. The Surface Dial, did you see that?
Yeah, I actually like the Surface Dial. I think it's got some real potential.
It's yeah, and I like, so it's really a rotary controller, isn't it, essentially? But it's just a new input method.
It is, but I mean, it was actually obviously designed to be paired with the Surface Studio, because with the Surface Studio, you can actually put it onto the screen, and it senses where it is on the screen, and you can actually then use it to adjust the bits around that part of the screen, which is quite clever. But you can use it standalone if you want as well. But yeah, but I mean, there is actually similar stuff out there for the Mac, and I think the Wacom guys have got a controller like that as well, which is a lot of CAD users use, because it is something naturally do. And I just, I mean, again, seeing that video, it just looks so right. It looks just so natural to use that. I guess it's an optional extra. It's going to cost you more.
Yeah, well, I think currently it's included if you could buy a Surface Studio, which I don't think you can at the moment, because I think the pre-orders have sold out and they're not available in the UK anyway.
Yeah.
You can buy the dial on its own. I think it's $99. Again, not available in the UK, and sold out anyway in the US. And it will work with any Bluetooth enabled device. But I think there's going to be a potential firmware upgrade for the Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book, so it'll work on screen as well.
Okay, that'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it's a gimmick, but it's nice to see Microsoft try new input methods. And,
I think it really does work
innovation.
for that creative CAD type thing. I mean, years and years ago, I wrote some software for CAD design people, and that's the sort of thing they used to do on their boards all the time. Have sort of circular dials and things to measure things and adjust things. So I think it just fits in naturally with what they would do.
Yeah, I mean, I could see using it be quite good for audio and video editing as a scrub dial. You know, for tracking on video, especially on video, because it's a bit fiddly doing it with the mouse. So yeah, I'd like to try one, and if they were available to order, I probably would order one. But yeah, it's the Microsoft curse of being US only, isn't it? Initially.
Yeah. I'm in the States next week. I'll see if I can find one.
Well, if you can find one, good luck. Yeah. But overall, I think the whole thing was well put together, and it was interesting to see how many people that got talking about it, and a bit of envy from the Apple camp for a change.
There was actually a lot of envy for the Apple camp, wasn't there? It was really roles of reversals this week.
Yeah, because on Thursday was the Apple keynote, and as I said, I found that a little bit stilted. But they announced the new MacBook Pros, and I didn't realize how long it's been since the MacBook Pros were even updated by Apple.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, and so the main change was they've got rid of the function keys and replaced it with an OLED strip.
Yeah, and the escape key, which is the one which is getting everybody.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yes,
takes courage to make changes like that.
It does. Yeah, and they took away all the ports as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. What do you think about this touch strip?
I think it looks nice, doesn't it? It's one of those things, isn't it? It's one of those, it look nice, and it does mean that those keys can be reprogrammed easily and actually display what they mean and what they do. And you can imagine in different scenarios them having shortcut buttons, almost like, I guess, similar to the dial. You could have I presume a row of selectable colors for web design, for drawing. I presume these things still don't have touch screens.
No, that's
they don't.
You would think that'd be the one thing, wouldn't you? So I can see the use of it, but I can also see why people would kind of buck against that. But I think it comes down to always the same old thing, isn't it? You don't have to upgrade. If you don't like what the next version of your device has got, then you can always wait.
I think that's what I've seen a lot of Apple fans a bit upset with, is but you can't in some respects, because it's been that long since they upgraded the MacBook Pro. Some of the devices, I think it's like 3 years, are getting quite old. And if it's another 3 years before the next one, then and that's why they've been looking at over at the Surface Book and I think as well, and some of the other OEM ones, because of that slow turnaround. And I don't know. I think I'm not sure about the touchscreen buttons, because you're having to look down, aren't you? So if you're touch typing and then you're having to look down at the F keys, I'm not quite sure that would work for me.
Yeah, I just wonder whether or not it's probably really a case of the fact that these haven't been updated for so long. They know that people are coming up to their refresh cycle. It's almost like they launched a device because they had to, which isn't really normally the way Apple does things, and so they had to differentiate it somehow. So they fewer some ideas at the drawing board and see what stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I think the other thing people complain about, they took away some of the SD card slots.
Right, yeah. I mean, the removal of USB ports, are they switching for what, USB-C?
Yeah, USB-C, yeah.
Yeah. So presumably there will be a USB-C to Lightning connector.
Yes, I think the cable to plug an iPhone into it is a $27 cable you're going to get from Apple.
Got you, yeah.
There are lots of USB-C adapters around.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think, at the end of the day, yes, that's $27 you should need to expend. But if you're buying a MacBook, those things aren't cheap. You're not really going to quibble. My Surface Pro 4, I bought all sorts of accessories with it. If you want that device, you're going to buy what you need to go with it. And if you can afford to spend that sort of money, then I don't think necessarily, sorry, maybe this is a bit of a presumption, but I don't think $27 is a deal breaker.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's just you're just going to have a load of more dongles and adapters with you in your bag, aren't you?
You are, but for how long? I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, with the iPhone 7 removing the mic port, yes, it's a big deal now, but actually one day it won't be. And so there does come a point where you get the chicken and egg scenario. Someone's got to be courageous enough to do it. I don't sound like an Apple fanboy already. You've got to take a stance at some point, and it does seem that Apple does lead the way. They got rid of the floppy drive first, they got rid of the DVD drive first, they got rid of in this case the headphone jack first, and now they're getting rid of USB, standard USB port. So
yeah, I know it's one of those things that you've got to, at some point you have to sort of break away from the connectors of the past. I think that's the thing with Surface Studio. I'm surprised they didn't put USB-C on there as well, but for that price you've got the old ports, but why not just have a combination of them? But anyway, interested to see what Apple have done with theirs, and they're just it's, I think as Gary said, it's amazing to see how times have changed from a few years ago when we were talking about all the Apple got all the good press, and there was a lot of negative press after the Apple event. It might, your Twitter stream, and I know that you build your own Twitter stream up to your own interests, so there's a bias to it, confirmation bias, I think it's called, isn't it? But it just seemed to me that there's a lot of snarkiness around the Apple event that I haven't seen in previous years.
Yeah, I think like I say, when a device hasn't been updated for that long, you kind of have quite big expectations. It's like really the iPhone 7, apart from the camera on the Plus, the dropping of a port, and maybe slightly better battery life, there's not a massive difference between the iPhone 6, sorry, the iPhone 6S and the 7. Really, it does almost feel like as an organisation they've kind of run out of ideas. And maybe they'll come up and surprise us like they did with the iPad, but it is really difficult to come out with a new device type. I mean, I was naive enough to not understand the iPad when it launched, but I can see where it fits in now. But designing that new market segment, as Microsoft is discovering, is really hard.
Yeah, it is. It's not easy. Yeah. Go ahead, Gary. You were going to.
I was just going to say, I saw someone tweet out, who'd have thought that Microsoft would be the leaders in VR? I know you have the objection to see the benefits of VR, but it is a big buzzword at the moment, and it's not the sort of thing you would have expected that you might have expected Apple to go get the lead in, or Sony or someone like that. But for Microsoft to actually be now seen as the people who are really pushing the boundaries on it.
Yeah, I know it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How the times have changed, and like you said, people's attitudes to change, and it just about shows you how this goes around in cycles, really. So I overall very impressed with the Microsoft event, and it'd be nice to see some of these technologies trickle down effectively to the consumer devices. So to see some of these designs taken on by OEMs to bring us cheaper devices, like they're going to do with the VR headsets. So yeah, that was the Microsoft event, and interesting to compare that with the Apple event. We didn't talk about prices as well, but I think we're talking about $4,000 for the Surface, for the mid price one. I think it starts at $3,000 and goes up to about $5,000.
Yeah, certainly a big expense of premium devices, but also, I mean, I think, as I would say, it's important to understand that if a lot of this market is kind of corporates, digital design studios who will purchase that as a business asset which will depreciate over years. So it really isn't, which kind of underlines my concern about Microsoft. It really isn't a consumer device.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Microsoft really have are dropping the consumers are really now not the target market at all, are they?
No, not particularly. I mean, obviously, they've still got the Xbox. You could argue that, Groove Music and films and TV is targeted at consumers, but if consumers aren't buying your platform, I mean, I know Groove Music's available on iOS and Android, but movies and TV service isn't yet. But yeah, and I think the problem is when you're in an ecosystem, whether or not you own an iOS device or an Android device, you probably first port a call. Other than maybe the mainstream streaming services, is that you'd go to the Google Marketplace to buy a video or rent a video or listen to music. Particularly when you've got something like Amazon, who were just bundling it in with your Amazon Prime subscription.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think they've got to do something around that to. I think especially now with Windows 10 Mobile, being at whatever 0.1%, with the Groove they are promoting it a bit on the other devices, but with the music and the movies and TVs definitely not. And I think there is an issue with that. They really do need to sort that out and get that available on the other platforms.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that was all the Microsoft and the Apple news. What else I wanted to mention? I talked about last week the Next Dock that Richard did the review of, and he's posted those reviews, which are looking great. So Richard reviewed the Next Dock with Richard Speed with a Raspberry Pi and with a Windows tablet. And I think he found them quite good, and he's done some good reviews on that. And speaking with the Raspberry Pi, I thought that was quite good. I tested the Next Dock because he sent it up to me with my 950, which on my first day of testing worked reasonably well, but now for some reason it won't stay on. So I think it's the internal battery's not working. So it stays on when it's plugged in, but as soon as you connect the Bluetooth, it switches off again. And I think that's to do with the fact that because there's no internal battery levels, it detects the way it knows the battery level is to do with the Bluetooth, apparently, how it reports it back to Bluetooth. So as soon as you connect the Bluetooth, it knows there's no battery, so it switches off. So if you leave the Bluetooth off, it'll stay on all day through the charger. But as soon as you connect the battery up, it starts working. So that kind of defeats the object of it, really.
Yes.
So I did do a test and did do the review, but I was about to record the video and never got a chance to do it. And I've tried charging it and leaving it on, leaving it off, and different things, and it just doesn't seem to stay on. You can charge it all day, and as soon as you take the power lead off, it switches off. So there must be a fault with it. I'll have to investigate. Maybe see if I can get another charger on it. It could be the charger, but it's funny, it will stay on. If you don't pair the Bluetooth up, if you've got the power adapter plugged in, it will stay on all day. So I'm not quite sure what it is. But while it was working, it's actually quite a nice idea. It's a bit laggy, which Next Dock say it's actually due to a fault with the 950s. And actually, I think they're right, because if you just use the touchscreen on the phone, if you use the phone screen as a mouse, the lag goes away for a bit. So it seems to be like a Bluetooth issue, but a nice concept. I do like the idea, but I just found it a bit. I couldn't find a use case for it for me because I'd just have a Surface with me.
Yes, yeah. Although the Surface can't act as a display as such, so I guess if you are just looking at carrying an extra display around, then that's kind of where it's targeted.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean it is just designed for that. For just designed for that reason, where you just carry a phone and carrying that. But I'd use a phone and carry a laptop with me, really, because it's not particularly that light. So it's quite big device as well. So I just couldn't really see a good use case for me. But I can see how it could be.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get it fixed and give it another try. But yeah, it's not a device that I would that would work for me anyway.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's clearly a clever idea they've got with Continuum.
Now, I did do another review of the ZenBook Flip, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I wanted to find out how you're getting on, Jason, with your phone.
Yes, getting on really well actually, much better than I expected. I mean, I still kind of miss the live tiles, and that's probably the main thing that I miss. And as you pointed out to me, I was trying to get the Cortana app on there, but unfortunately that's US only. But yeah, apart from that, the one thing I found an odd conundrum is I've been trying to use the Outlook app, but I can't really decide what it actually adds, because the inbuilt mail app and calendar is actually good enough for what I need. And also when you search for things, the Outlook app doesn't index things into the iOS search results. So for now, I've kind of got my mail syncing directly just with the normal mail and calendar apps. But yeah, so far it's been really good. One of the things I really love about the iPhone is the way you can select audio output on Bluetooth. So as I mentioned numerous times, one of my frustrations with my Windows Phone device was it would quite often just decide it wasn't going to connect to my little Bluetooth speaker that I've got in the car, but it would connect to the hands-free kit that's in the car, which doesn't support audio. And also I had to make sure if it connected to the car kit first, it would put the audio through the car phone kit. I'd have to go in and disconnect it and then reconnect it to the Bluetooth. So in some ways it's not surprising it kind of got a bit kind of broken. But with the iPhone, you literally just select what you want the audio to be. So you kind of slide it from the bottom of the screen, and there's a little drop down list. You choose where you want the audio to go, and it doesn't disconnect the audio from the other devices, because I can see from the little audio symbol on the car kit, but it just redirects it. And it just works really nicely. So that's one big, and that's all controllable from the lock screen, which is brilliant. So yeah, I've been getting on really well actually, far better than I thought. Yesterday and today, I've finally broken my barrier with having the Plus as opposed to my old kind of 5-inch Lumia 950. I was concerned I was probably going to return the Plus and actually exchange it for the standard iPhone 7. But the last couple of days, I think I've kind of broken the back of that and actually starting to really prefer the use of the phone. And one thing I've noticed with the iPhone 7 Plus compared to the standard iPhone is you can actually rotate the home screen.
Right,
so
yeah.
It does actually switch into a landscape orientation, which is quite nice. It's really nice having the Sonos app on there. Which
That's it. Yeah,
sounds like a really little thing, but it's a really big deal. And I really like the 3D touch. I've been getting on really well with that. My biggest problem I've had is with contacts. It seems to be bringing back deleted contacts from my Outlook.